Hello and welcome to the 6 Impact Youth video devotional on the book of Genesis that we're creating as we march through the entire book of Genesis. Today we're going to be going through chapters 15 through chapter 18 verse 15, continuing the story of Abram. What we see first in chapter 15 is God again meets with Abram to remind him of this promise that he already made with him back in chapter 12. This promise to make him the head or the father of an incredible nation and to give them the land that he's going to promise to them. And in this situation, we actually have this great story where God makes a covenant promise with Abram where they cut these animals in half, lay them flat on the ground, and then typically when you make a covenant, the two people making the promise would walk between the animals together. But in this story, we see a glowing fire pot and also a torch, a blazing torch, that they both are symbols for God walking through between these animals together. So what we're really seeing is it's not a promise that God and Abram both have to keep their side of the deal, but God is filling in for both sides of the promise, saying, I guarantee that I'm going to keep this deal with you, Abram. But then we get to chapter 16, and it says that it's been 10 years since the first time that God made the promise. So Abram was 75 the first time God made the promise. I'm going to give you a kid. Now he's 85 years old and he still doesn't have any kids. So Abram and Sarah, they start doubting God and they come up with a way for Abram to end up having a child to fulfill the promise that God had already made with him. Then in chapter 17, we see that Abram is now 99 years old and he still only has the one child that's made not through Sarah but through the servant that they gave to Abram to have a child with. And that servant was Ishmael, like you're going to read about. But now at 99, he's wondering to himself, God, what's going on? I never had a child of my own. And it's at this point we get to chapter 18 where it says 3 visitors arrive at Abram and Sarah's house. And these 3 visitors, when you read through it, you realize it's 2 angels and the Lord, God himself. And what happens is God again says, Abram, I am going to give you a child. I promise. And Sarah laughs because she can't believe that God is saying, yes, Sarah, you're 90, your husband's 100, and I'm still going to give you a child. It's been 25 years since God told him this was going to happen. He still hasn't done it. Sarah's lost a little bit of faith in him. But we have this amazing line in verse 14 of chapter 18 where God asks Sarah, is anything too hard for the Lord? And I think that that's a question every single one of us have to ask. Maybe we've been praying the same prayer for a really long time. Maybe our life has been really hard and we've been saying, God, I need you to rescue me from this. But because we haven't seen an answer to our prayer the way that we wanted, we start to doubt. We don't think God's actually going to answer. We don't think that God's actually going to maintain the promise he made to us. And so we think, God, maybe this is too hard for you. Maybe you don't care. And my challenge to you today, if that's what you're thinking, is know this. Is anything too hard for the Lord? And the answer to that question, I think we all know. No. That's the reading for this week. Continue, and God bless.